And we are live and celebrating a very amazing, fun day. I'm Becky Norwood with Spotlight Publishing House, and this is Shanaz Soni, and she is the author of Quantum Being. Shanaz, let's talk about this. What an exciting day, and you've become a number one bestseller. And on the Kindle version, we're aiming for the paperback version today. Pretty soon, we'll be having the hardcover version. So, what's this journey been like? And tell us about you.
Well, I definitely feel like the quantum being myself, birthing my future and birthing everybody else's future with this new energy that I'm sending out, like a huge message I'm broadcasting to the world that, you know what, it's time that we truly own our power and vibrate as the quantum being.
Wow. So this journey for you to, I really want you to share some of your background because I think it's so fascinating where you've come from, the the life that you have built for yourself, but it wasn't always that way. So let's talk about your journey to get to this point.
Wow. So that is the thing that in my book, so when you guys do buy my book, you'll see in chapter 1 to 4, I do scratch the surface in answering the question that Becky just asked. And I do feel very grateful that I had the insight in me at the right time to make the right decision, to be able to pick up on a trajectory that truly was the best interest for my soul activation to be where I am today. Because when I started my journey in Karachi, Pakistan, really, like actually it was around the war when I was born, between Bangladesh and Pakistan, and there's just blackout everywhere. And my mom was basically telling me that, like there's a blackout, and I'm trying to make sure that I take care of you, and you have this thing on your face that was calming to me. And so it was interesting that my purpose in life has always been this peacemaker, like beacon of light in a way for myself and for others, of course. So that was my beginning. And from there on, the journey was harsh because being raised in Pakistan, especially as a girl in a patriarchal culture, it's
Yeah.
truly a test of your freedom. And someone like me, I'm a Libra, it's all about liberation. So for me, I was always aware of me being a genie that's trapped in the bottle, and I really want to get out of the bottle, and nobody was helping me. But on the contrary, they were telling me that this is pretty much where you're going to be for the rest of your life. And I think that that triggered the fire in me, which put me on this thing that I truly don't accept that as my reality. And that is how, when you don't accept something that is given to you because it's not acceptable, then you start yourself, right? In the
Right.
path where you are given other opportunities. And then, of course, it's a risk, it's a leap of faith, and it's not easy by any means. And every single thing I've done in life has been very risky. But what is there to live if you're not going to do that? Because how else are you going to make it here?
Well, I can't even imagine you living in that kind of a life because you've got such an amazing spirit about you, and to be put down and not be able to be who you are, that had to be really tough. But you even had an arranged marriage, which and then made a huge change in where you lived and everything else. It had to be difficult during those years to kind of figure your way through from a very moving to the United States with a totally different environment, totally different everything, and it was all was brand new to you. You weren't prepared for it by any means.
Right. The only thing I was prepared for is like all your life as a girl growing up in Pakistan, you're kind of told. I mean, you basically are told, and you've also seen in the culture, right, that everybody gets arranged marriage, at least in my culture, or in my community, I would say. And if you fall in love, then your chances of survival is very low. So for me, it was like, okay, you know what? I wanted to live in this world because I knew I had something to do with it. So so it was kind of like I was very obedient girl, right? Like, so even growing up, like people would come and give you this love letter or try to call you on the phone, like technically it's a house phone. And I would find it kind of almost like stay away from these things because it's going to lead me to a bigger disaster than anything. So I never appreciate, like I never gave any boys any kind of hope with me, even though there were boys that I liked, but I just knew the consequences were just not worth right, messing my life up. So I was very aware that I'm going to be or have arranged marriage. So even when proposals started coming and things started happening, I was kind of, it was all about, let's just, it's going to happen. Let's just make sure that there's some sort of decision making involved from me. And my first arranged marriage, my parents loved him and I liked him as well. And I didn't see anything wrong with him. And I almost think that he's going to keep me happy. So that part of decision making was mine, even though if you think about it, it was still a pretty conditional situation. And then you're groomed to be like, stay with the person because otherwise you're going to go to hell. So all of that was in my mind. So I was very much devoted to spending my life with him. And because of that type of devotion and that type of belief system, in a way, that is the only reason I survived all of that.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
But then there's a lot of changes that took place over the years.
Oh my
And
goodness. That was the hardest part. Like having to come from like Pakistan to America to me is almost like changing a planet, right? Because I mean, you're going to, everybody looks different, everybody acts different, the clothing is different. I had so much problem with the whole jeans concept, right? When you wear jeans and a shirt, and like to me it was very like it was a lot of adaptation, like language, culture, and then with the man that I didn't know and I'm getting to know him in the process. So I would say that definitely there were lots of variables at play. And however, that is the one thing that is interesting, that in life we can have so many things to worry about, but when you're extremely sure that this is where you're headed, or at least you have that clear vision, it truly makes, like, it truly helps you to get there, even though it may take longer, or because time is an illusion anyway. But the point is that I think that to me, when I got married and I knew I had to make a life with this man, I knew that we have to have good money situation because it wasn't in the beginning. And right away, I knew that I need to work and I need to become independent really fast. I have to learn to drive, I have to learn the language, and I have to get the job. So I even got the job while I was going to the school because I wanted to make sure I pay for my tuition partially. So all of that I think was part of my, because I tie my independence with the freedom, right? How are you going to get
right.
one or the other? And my goal was that I want to make sure that the life I create with my husband is going to be more of a freedom than not. And then, of course, as I took different journeys, is because, to me, freedom always will take the importance. Because if you are not freely representing your spirit with your light, then you are compromising your mission being here in this world.
Hmm. You are. So with all those changes, then you went on to work for some major um, corporations, major organizations. Tell us about where that journey.
That journey was interesting because while I was going to school, UC Irvine, I was also going through my paperwork just so that I can become a citizen. And it wasn't an easy struggle because they lost all my paperwork, and which delayed the entire processing, right? So what the thing, and that tied to my future with what I wanted to do, because while I was going to school, I already had decided that I'm going to work on projects that nobody gets to work on, like very few people do. So that was already like in my spirit, that I want to do something that's really unique and different. So, and I knew the company that was working on a project that was very unique, and it was a pretty big hype about it. It was a huge satellite communication, El Segundo, California, and I knew that they're not going to accept me if I don't have a citizenship. And because green card can get you a job, but I wanted the job. And in
Mm.
order to do that, I had to have so I was very much pursuing that while I was getting my degree, so I can have my paperwork lined up. So when I go for interview, that doesn't come in my way. And then I was getting offers from companies that were not exactly what I had imagined for myself. So I would reach out to my colleagues who were sometimes struggling, and I would connect them with the right person, and then they would take that job. So it almost became like fun thing for me. But I think that is the part where I feel like we all have that. It's like, you choose the job. You don't just go for any job that comes as the first one. If you truly want to create the reality, right, where you are inputting that. So for me, I think I knew that it will take me longer because I was very picky, but I was okay with that because, I'd rather be picky and do what I would truly want than just, take whatever comes.
Mhm. So you eventually started working for NASA, and that's kind of where how the storytelling in your book kind of weaves into this whole thing, and what you have experienced. You still work for them. So tell us about that journey and how this book came to be, and what the core of the message is from your beautiful and amazing book.
So it's interesting because for the most part, I have worked for Boeing and Hughes and all this company, and then 4 years ago when I retired from Boeing, I ended up meeting someone in the wedding party who asked me for my resume, and that landed me a job at NASA. Like I was trying to take a break, I want to just figure out life, and of course I get such a good job at NASA working on a human landing system, and also again as I told you, I wanted to work on a unique project, and it's a pretty unique project because we're going to the south side of the moon. We are going to have the woman walk on the moon. We're going to also truly leverage the fact that there is life on that particular side of the moon. We have already observed it, and we're going to leverage the fact that all the other technology will come together, right? And we are hiring so many different companies for robotic experience experiments, and we are also accompanying with Elon Musk and other people. So it's kind of an exciting thing. So it triggered me to join them, and I'm glad I did because I've learned the culture is very different than what I've had experienced before in my aerospace environment. It's very it's more, there's something about it that at least at the people level there's a lot of that loving exchange. And I mean, I don't know if it's a Southern hospitality because I live in Huntsville, Alabama, or whatever the reasons are, but I have felt something about NASA that is exciting. And of course, I'm very well aware that there is a lot of other things that people as a humanity are concerned about, what NASA truly stands for. So that is that, right? But at the end of the day, to me, like we are here to play Hunger Game, and we should make sure that we play a game in a way that we can be useful to ourselves and others. Because if you're going to live detached and upset and not truly feel good even within ourselves, then we're not going to help anyone.
No, that's for sure. In your book, you convey, and when we were preparing, looking at the book description and your bio and everything, you feel that science and spirituality kind of dovetail. They go hand in hand. What's been your experience with this? And I know it's meant, wow, just think of the massive changes and growth for you over the years. And in a real different perspective. And so I want to talk more about your book and what you're providing in this book, but also because there's fascinating pictures, photos throughout your whole book, but there's also a lot of explanation, and some of it's more scientific in nature, but you relate it to how it applies to the lives we live today.
Yeah, because as the quantum being, you're supposed to integrate both your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere. And the only way you're going to do that is you use your logic rational mind, which is where the science comes in, with your mind that doesn't have any confinement, the mind that is beyond any box. And that mind is the one that takes you away from your physical existence, and it's a spirit self, right? So to me, converging both of them is the definition of a quantum being to truly grab the life that they want to create. Because if you don't understand, like you only see the tip of the iceberg, and you don't see the remain of the iceberg, which makes the most of it, what's going to happen is, it's interesting. I'm hearing a little noise.
It's my dog. He's got his squeaky toy.
Oh my God! I was just making sure. That is the game. So one of the other thing I quickly want to ask you, Becky, is that I'm assuming that it's being shared, and I hope it's shared on my channel, guys, because otherwise I'll have to send it later on. Because on my right side it says message from audience will display here, but I'm not seeing any. So
no, it doesn't appear that there's anybody on listening. So it's still, I don't know where all it's going. It shows mine, but I don't know what that +1 is. Let's see.
Yeah, because
let's keep the conversation going because.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if there was anything I could do to make it happen, so people are not waiting. If that's the case.
Yeah, it may be going. I don't know.
Yeah.
We're kind of in the middle of this big
I agree.
interview.
But if anybody's listening, they can probably type it there and say, yes, we are hearing you. That would
be fun. They typically do. Usually there's lots of conversation. So
Yeah. So go ahead. I think that, so yeah, science and spirituality, I had to converge the two to truly help human being to understand that how powerful that convergence makes you to be. And the fact that I have gone out of my way to go to many mystery school, not just one, so that I can truly understand my spirit self. And then the fact that I had an education of becoming an electrical engineer and then working on always the most exciting project one can work on in the United States has made me very aware of the scientific aspect of our existence. And I am a research scientist. I just love, like understanding how everything interconnects, because being a software engineer, you have to truly understand that in order to get the switch to turn on, what do you have to go through every step of the way. And that type of thinking is what I project in my book, because to that thinking is available to all of us. That thinking truly helps you navigate life a little bit better, because you kind of know all the steps. You also know the vision. You know that there's a method to the madness, and you should adapt to it if you truly want to, because uh, if not, then you don't want to be lost in your own life, right?
No, that's right.
So,
So it's interesting because, for a mind like yours, to be able to really, you went from a really totally different culture into a culture that is so diverse and so different from what you had, and you've had quite a journey. And now you're at a place where you're talking about being a quantum human, quantum being. What does the word quantum mean?
so quantum means it's a very minuscule amount of any energy, like when that is exuded by anything. So it's a Latin word. And quantum being pretty much means being is, we are kind of in a state of being. That is the thing that truly what we're supposed to be, because when we're not being and we are resisting, then we are stopping the flow of light through us, because we're just a projecting the light, the bigger light, the cosmos, the godness, right? So the quantum being kind of emphasizes on the fact that you have to take a very tiny, tiny steps to be a quantum being. It doesn't require to do a major thing sometimes in life to just be a being. Like a state of being can be, it's a mindset, right? And state of being is something that you can tap into by taking that quantum step. So when human being truly understands that we're the moving molecule, and we are constantly existing in that state, it just truly aligns you where you're, wherever you're supposed to converge in your trajectory of life.
That's beautiful. And the images that you used in the book to convey the the amazingness of our world, and and the flow of how you pulled all of this together to show the comparisons to get your point across were quite fascinating. And for anybody that's going to either listening or going to listen to this interview, take a close look at the images that Shanaz decided to use throughout the pages of this book, and really capture the essence of wow, and understanding how she is able to tie together all the things that are the beauty and the amazingness of our universe, and how simple it really is to live an amazing life if we so choose.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that is pretty much my goal, is that I walk the talk. I also make sure I show the talk, and then if anybody wants to receive that, then I have provided every single thing. Like I put my heart and soul in this book to make sure that people can truly take the message home.
And it's beautiful. It's an amazing book. So your message to somebody that picks up your book, what is your main message that you want to put across to them?
The main message is that we are the most amazing human craft, and we can be in a state of the quantum being at all times, and that is what truly optimizes your law of attraction to the maximum, and truly helps you be who you are supposed to be without any resistance.
That's beautiful. Well, you know, for those that do end up listening to the, be sure you pick up a copy of Shanaz's book. She is a #1 bestseller on the Kindle. We're aiming for a #1 bestseller today with her paperback. But even over and above becoming a bestseller, the depth of wisdom, the depth of knowledge that is she's sharing in the pages of this book will really touch you. So we have the links in the chat for some of the platforms, but it's also running across, as you can see, the bottom of the screen. And if nothing else, type in Shanaz Soni Quantum Being on Amazon, and you will find her book that way as well. So I want to applaud you because, you know, this has been quite a journey to bring this book. And tell our listeners, what are your future plans? What are you doing now in the world? How are you getting this message out other than your book?
Okay. So my future plan is that I want to do what Oprah Winfrey had suggested many years ago, is that write your book and travel the world. And one of my coworker actually, when I was working at Boeing, told me that when I shared with him that I have this book that I'm supposed to write, right? And I put the sticky on my laptop reminding me, right? And then ultimately this year was the year I was supposed to make it all happen. And I do want to share the part that how this book happened for me was very interesting, because I made a New Year resolution, and then I was aware of Nina. So I reached out to her, and then I asked her, because I was assuming she'll be my editor. And then I asked her, whom do you recommend as a publisher? And she sent me few. And then out of those few, I kind of, I checked with all of you, and I can just tell the first time when I talked to Becky that she's going to be my publisher, because I felt very comfortable with exchanging with her. I felt like we can work together, because that's the most important thing is when you're working with a publisher, right? To make sure you can, understand each other. And it becomes very stressful towards the end when everything is about to happen. And we had our times where we were being tested and we came out of it, so it strengthened our relationship. And that was all part of having to birthing this book. And so yeah, I kind of used the 369, by the way, which is a Tesla code. And my goal was to completely be done with the manuscript by March, and then my goal was to get it in the editor's hand and things moving in June, and the book to be finished from my perspective in September, which I did, because that's why we are actually here launching it today. So I do say that, when there's a will, there's a way. And I'm just amazed and happy and grateful that I was able to fulfill my New Year resolution to birth this book close to my birthday.
Well, it's what a beautiful celebration for a birthday.
Exactly.
And what an accomplishment. And how does your family feel about this whole process? Do they share your journey? At least part of your family share your journey? I know, if your family is very diverse. Tell us about that part of the journey.
It's interesting because I'm doing this book for me and for my family and for my friends and for my tribe and for all my loved ones. However, it's interesting because, my personal family, nobody truly knew, about this book, maybe now because they're listening to this interview and the Facebook thing. That's how they're going to learn about it. So that's amazing, isn't it? My immediate family, I just told them, casually, that I was writing a book. And then just a few weeks ago, I told them that I'm going to be busy because I'm publishing the book. But that's all they know. Isn't it interesting? My boys, they're aware of my book and they kind of smile about it. But they truly don't know either because they haven't read the book. So it's kind of an interesting thing that I have been so self-driven that I did this mainly because I know I'm supposed to do it. I didn't do it because I'm getting any direct kudos from my immediate family. On the contrary, my friends were hugely influential in this journey for me. And I have to say, I'm very grateful for that. In Huntsville, Alabama, I have made some incredible friends. And they were definitely helpful to the point where they were willing to read my chapter when you gave me the action to make sure you do a read out loud and, things like that. So I think it has been a great journey because I've learned about how, like the message is important, but in order to wrap the message in a way so it can help other people is a whole different thing, which is what I did. And to answer your question about what I want to do with this book is I want to use this book as a tool for me to go and teach workshops to places all over the world, because I truly want to travel the world and convey the message through this book. And that's why it's international. And I actually have a question on that, so I'll ask you quickly because somebody asked me that. But the other thing that I want to do is I want to write another book. And I have two things that's going on right now. I'm very much all about healing our human body and really making our human craft the best it could be, because I have worked on spacecraft all my life. And I think I say that human craft, we are actually more magnificent than any spacecraft I have worked on. And that is my goal, is to make people take care of the body, because I'm a certified health coach and I'm very health conscious, and I like to make sure I share what I've done and also share more as I learn about it. So that's going to be my next book. And then at the same time, I would love to be part of the inventions that we want to create for healing humanity at the DNA level, right? And however it looks, whatever it comes. So I've kind of opened the door for all of those things, and the book to be more of a tool for me to open these new trajectories in life.
Well, I know you'll reach it. You've been determined and you've come this far, and that will happen. And the cover itself is so striking. That's one of the things, it's that first great impression, but when you look at that cover, it just like captures your imagination, it captures your eye, and just like that, it's just like, wow, this is some book. And I've shared it with some of my friends, and they were, that is the most gorgeous cover I've ever seen. So.
Yeah, and and it's kind of interesting, right? Because that's where my right hemisphere, my creativity comes in. Because when you had asked me to look for the cover, and I had found a very beautiful cover beforehand too, and you know that. But when I learned that that cover was already taken by someone else, and I said, I don't want any cover that is not available for just my book. So it ended up being a good thing, right? That it didn't work because we ended up creating this. And yes, I have to say that I just think that even I have, and I'm a very much like a bookworm person. I love books, seen so many books, but nothing like this. So I think the book cover will speak for itself, and I think it will attract the people who will know just by the virtue of the cover that this book is unique. And it is very unique, right? Because first of all, the life that I have lived, I mean, there are pluses about my life, but of course there are lots of challenges. So therefore, I don't truly necessarily wish upon other people to have to go through all the hardships. So the fact that the book is unique is because I share the spiritual and science convergence because of my personal background. And I also do it in a way, and I'm hoping that I'm succeeding in it, is to make it easy enough that no matter what your level of understanding is in your evolution journey, you're able to pick up the pieces wherever you are and take it and learn from there, and you're going to make a change in your life. So anybody who's going to run into this book and they will pick it up and they'll flip the page and they'll buy it and they'll read it, they are transforming themselves for good.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, congratulations to you. You've accomplished so very much, and what a beautiful, fun day. So, make sure you celebrate. Take the time to celebrate. And I know you have a lot of good, people that are back there rooting for you, in the background. So take the time to just relish in the day that you really did make a major accomplishment to bring this beautiful book to the world. So for those listening, be sure to pick up a copy. All
Yes.
right.
Thank you,
Well,
Becky.
very good. Thank you. And beautiful interview. So I'll get the recordings to you soon. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Bye.